Hi everybody, thanks for tuning in to our first episode of the Rise of Frankenstein. With this video series, we're going to go through the rebuilding of the Frankenstein Cummins. This here is my personal truck. I bought this is actually my very first diesel truck I've ever owned. I got this quite a long time ago. And when I got it, it was a beautiful Holy Grail 5-speed 98 quad cab Dodge truck. And I proceeded to butcher it. So that's just kind of what I did. My first mods started as many people. I put in a fuel plate, an exhaust, and it ran real good. It ran so good, in fact, I had to have more. And so I had to battle with my wife, hey, I need to spend some money on the truck. And she wasn't too excited about this, but I said, let's put this turbo on in these fuel injectors, and then I'll be good forever, I promise. So I put the turbo on, that lasted about 2 weeks, and I had another turbo on that was even bigger. That pretty much was the beginning of my diesel journey. I could not get enough. I needed more and more power.
1177 at 115.
We're gonna fast forward a couple of years. Like a lot of you guys, I followed the diesel power challenge. I thought it'd be really cool to have a top rating 12 valve in there. They've had a few 12 valves from time to time, but not very many. At this time, you had to be voted into the competition. So they had the readers vote you in. And so I wanted to build something radical that would hopefully garner the interest of a lot of people and want to see it run. So this is what you saw a couple years ago that's really made the rounds in the internet. We did a build thread on competitiondiesel.com. We did a build thread on cumminsforum.com. We had its own Facebook page. And we built a pretty wild triple turbo setup. This consisted of a GTX 4202R was on the manifold. And the manifold was a Steed Speed manifold, competition manifold, which I really like. And it had the wastegate built in the manifold so I could run an external gate. And that gate would dump right into the hot pipe, which was feeding two box S475 turbochargers. So I had two 475 turbochargers, and they were pushing air into my GTX 4202R. But if you remember these wild pictures you've seen, I had those 475s going to this intercooler. And this is a water-to-air intercooler that I built in my garage. What I did is I bought two Frozen Boost cheapy units, and I cut them up, and I actually welded them together. And I had a tube going on each side, so turbo fed the outsides, and they both discharged from the middle, and that went and fed the GTX 4202R, which then went to its own water-to-air intercooler and in the engine. We had a good running 13 mil pump, and I think it could have been real competitive. I think it would have been a fun competition, but unfortunately, we didn't get the votes. Instead of getting the votes, we did a couple dyno days. We went racing with it. It did about 1,379 horsepower at a dyno event in Salt Lake. It was a good 10-second truck. Then I have a dedicated race truck, which is my UCC truck, and so it needed an engine, and we took the engine out of Frankenstein and put the engine in the UCC dedicated race truck. And that engine you saw when we did a lot of those dyno videos that you saw on the internet. And we got a lot of attention from those videos, enough so that we actually got an invite to Ultimate Callout Challenge. So that was really exciting. The unfortunate part is this engine was never built for the amount of power we made it make. And so as the power got higher and higher, we hurt the engine, and so we actually didn't use this engine for competition, pretty much just for the dyno videos, and we really pushed it hard. And so then engine got hurt, pulled it out, and we ended up building a whole big monster engine for UCC. So this truck has literally been sitting collecting dust for the last 2 years. We've been spending all of our attention and time on our UCC race truck, and that makes a load of power and takes a lot of attention. In the meantime, I've been driving a slow car, wanting my daily driver back. I'm very excited to get this truck back so I can drive something fast around again, something fun again. This particular engine build that we put for Frankenstein is very similar to the first one. This is not a 1,800, 2,000 horsepower engine build. This is a 1,000 horsepower street truck. It has cast pistons, not forged pistons. We've got stock rods that have been shot peened and polished, but they're still a stock rod. The typical stuff, the girdle, it's got the awesome Molle Power Pack pistons. It's got a top-notch 13 mil pump. Now this 13 millimeter P-pump has been set up and optimized for street use. This is not a competition P-pump. If you're getting a 13 millimeter pump, make sure it's built for what you want to do, because this should be quite street friendly. Throttle response is going to be nice. It's not going to be jerky. It's not going to make as much power as a race 13 mil pump, but it'll handle 1,000 no problem. Also in this engine, we have a pretty good worked over Cummins cylinder head. This is a stock cylinder head. It's been ported, polished. We actually had to cut off the intake shelf. This is a ZZ Fab intake shelf because we had to cut it off so we could really port those intake runners. So it's got pretty good head flow. It features a Hamilton 200-220 camshaft. We have the billet front cover. Obviously we want to have this. We have access to our timing gear because we want to adjust our timing. I like to run on the street around 21 to 24 degrees. And when I dyno and do competition, I'll probably be around 32 to 35 degrees. So I need to be able to adjust that, and with this billet timing cover, you can do that very quickly. Just a pretty solid engine build. We've built quite a few just like it for a lot of customers, and it works really well. As you can see right now, there are no turbochargers on this truck. We're designing that system right now, deciding what we want to run with this, what kind of power we hope to make, and you'll be seeing all that on a future episode. Very excited about this. Been waiting for this truck for 2 years. Something fun to drive around. And stick with us. In our next episode, we're going to talk about the transmission, and we're going to do a whole series on the resurrection of Frankenstein. Thanks.